So I was really bored with the internet being broken,
Mm-hmm.
and I have been crafting some stuff because I wanted to make a Frostblades character. It's
Mm-hmm.
been an interesting it's been an interesting journey in terms of I got convinced not to make a melee character at the start of the league because I would get carried for
Mm-hmm.
X amount of time. So I'm like, okay, it was not like I wanted to make Frostblades. Then Garatha and everybody died, and then Garatha comes back playing Frostblades. I'm like, wow, this looks sweet, and I'm like, I definitely want to make that as my next character.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then 6 link ball axe in like 4 fuse, and then a headhunter drop. So I was like, I don't know if headhunter works for the thing. So okay, whatever. And then I talked to Invalesco for a little bit, and he was like, I'm having a lot of fun. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
seems really strong. I'm like, nice. Okay, so I'm like, all right, so I'll start. I've been looking for pieces of gear and stuff like that, and then Inva releases his video. I'm like, well, there goes that as like a cheap, fun option of something to do for a next build. Um, but then I don't know. It was weird. It didn't really seem like anything other than the hubris enchant of Frostblades does more damage actually got more expensive from Inva releasing the build.
Mm-hmm.
And there's I have never seen a claw over 350 DPS for sale, and they go all the way up to 650. So it's like, I guess it's really. I mean, I'm crafting them, so it's tough
What?
to
What?
craft.
They go up to 650? Really?
They go to 650. Yeah, I mean that's a mirror. That would be a
Oh
mirror,
yeah, yeah. Like it's a mirror,
like best of the
mirror perfect.
perfect,
Mm-hmm.
mirror perfect. Yeah. So, and then I'm like, well, so what colors do you need? I'm like, holy shit! Inva has a 4 red, 1 green, 1 blue Volregalia 900 ES, and I'm like, I don't have the heart to deal with that. And then I'm like, well, what if I don't like Frostblades? So then I'll make an Aegis. So I bought a Saintly for 70 Chaos, 6 linked, I level 100. I was like,
What?
How is that so cheap?
Oh, kind
And
of crazy.
then I'd already spent 1100 fuses trying to make my own. So I was like, whoops. I'd never searched for one because I just assumed they would be expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm crafting and I'm bored. Like I was started the story on board, and I'll scour 10 times, got nothing. And then I'm like, fuck it, I'm low on scours, so I'm gonna chaos. So like I'll do 10 chaos.
Mm-hmm.
On the 6th chaos, I hit tier 3 flat, tier 1%, and triple res. So I'm like, okay, that's pretty sweet. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, and it's fun. We can YOLO for either flat or hybrid, hopefully, whatever. So then last night I did a Miley craft and I hit tier 1 hybrid. So I'm actually pretty sad that it's tier 3 flat, but still
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
How much yes is
So
that?
640.
Oh, it's pretty good though.
Yeah, it's good. No, I mean it's
For
not,
that.
obviously it's nowhere near as good as a actual 900 ES. 620. So it's 900 armor and 620 ES and triple res. So, and the thing is, a perfect, mirror worthy Saintly would only be 745 ES if every roll was top.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so it was fun. See the benefits of non-solo self-found, right? I get to just be like, oh, I tried to play quote unquote because the Saintly I found myself in an Obas and then try to craft it, but.
Well, like Void Battery is a T1 unique, right?
Oh yeah, I would think so.
Well, I just found one today.
You found one? Wow.
The benefits of solo self found, you know?
You're right. Now you get to use it. Let's see. I want to look right now. It's coming here for sale. I don't think they're expensive though.
No, 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 no. But it's like finding a campfire, you know?
Yeah, there's 15 for sale. So
Oh, that's so
just because I guess
Oh, it's so rare.
no one's using. Yeah. Oh, there's 63 total. Yeah, for this long into the league, it's got to be
Nobody really buys them.
right. And I don't think there's a divination card for that, is there? I don't think so.
I don't know.
My head. I also found a mirror card last night. Divination card.
Really?
That's pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it will sell.
No, well, how many is it to create one mirror?
9. So it's worth 1/9 of a mirror. So I mean, I had mine up for 11 or 12x. I don't remember what I put it up for because mirrors are like 100 to 120x in hardcore. I mean, that would be a fun thing. Now, I mean, I guess it is just random. The Diviner's box I rolled was insane, and I almost didn't keep it because it was current. The only good thing was it has extra currency on it, but it had, like +6 and quantity and like one other good thing, and 3, it was a 6 stat Diviners, so it paid off, obviously. I just don't think the card will ever sell. I think it's one of those things where it's kind of like in hardcore, you can't ever, there's no point to those sorts of cards. Almost.
If nobody sees an opportunity of getting all of them, they're not even going to start.
There's four total right now. Now maybe someone has been buying them, right? It's not and doesn't have them for sale, so they'll come along and buy mine. In which case, I think that's
maybe
that's fine. Yeah.
Well, it's
ready? You wanna start that thing? Start that engine?
Start that thing.
Yeah.
I think
is this number 9? Is this number 9?
I think it's 9. Yeah. So the next one is 10. Oh, it's the 10. Big 10.
The Big 10. All right. Well, you let me know when you're ready. Then.
Well, I'm ready. You can just go.
Okay, you're ready. Okay. So I want to welcome everyone to number 9 of Coffee Talk. Name TBD. Though maybe something like beta incoming or like prepare for launch. One quick thing I just want to note for anyone who's watching, my internet has been a little wonky. So if I lag or cut out or something, I very much apologize. It's something being worked on, so that's all I'll say. And then if you want to subscribe to us and or all these other things, you can find us on Noogie's channel, and you can find us on our website, thecoffeetalkpodcast.com, and you could subscribe all the crazy different ways that you can listen to podcasts. So yeah, there we go. So first, I think before we talk about today's subject, I do want to say it has been very interesting watching Noogie play his solo Self-Found character. Have you really been enjoying?
Have you been watching?
Self-Found?
Is that what
I have been watching?
Oh, you have been watching.
I have been watching.
Oh.
I don't always comment.
No,
you noticed me the other day, so then I felt forced to participate.
I've noticed you all the times, but I don't always call you out.
Okay. So yes, I have checked it out. So what do you are you enjoying solo Self-Found more than regular? Would you say, or is just a different?
At this point in the league, yes.
Okay.
Because it's kind of a reset.
Yeah.
So if I've had already made 6 or 7 characters in the normal league.
Right.
Pretty much all of them gotten to a somewhat high level, some of them to a high level. Yeah. And I don't know, I just wanted to have something new to play with. One thing you really start, I don't know, have you played any solo Self-Found at all?
No. I mean, besides the challenge, was it Havoc's challenge? What was the thing where there was actually the ladder tracking? I know you were doing it, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it was like Havoc, Red Eye, and those who were setting it up mostly.
Yeah. So that's the only thing I've actually done. Besides, obviously, racing is always solo Self-Found. But
well, yeah. It's more solo Self-Found after Atlas came out. That's when it really is very interesting playing solo Self-Found now. I gotta say, because you have to even if you're doing the shape strat, which I'm doing, you have to set it up without having the option of the auction house, and that takes some craftiness to where you have to if you want to get certain maps like Burrows and Reef have very limited ways of you getting them, so sometimes you have to shape lower tier maps that will then trade into those maps or into adjacent maps.
Okay, interesting.
And strategies like that, and the way you get the shaper orbs as well. If you want to do the shape strat, say, and you have to get estuary, and you don't want to do chateau and arsenal before that, so you would have to unshape those or do those later. You can shape up wharf instead of strand, and 3-1 that into an estuary, and then unshape the wharf, and then get your strand afterwards.
Wait, so why does a 3-to-1 wharf create an estuary?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if it's just completely arbitrary or what it is, because
Okay.
I was under the
Looking at it
impression
right
it was
now.
like vicinity, like lines or distance, but it doesn't. There are other places where that doesn't make sense. For some of them it does, for others it doesn't. So I'm not sure how that works. I just know that there are certain maps you can 3-1 into other web maps on the atlas. Yeah, it's really very interesting setting up everything, and also getting all the unique maps. And I've been chancing museums, and then it finally dropped at level 98, the Future Cloister.
Wait, you're not picking up Encroaching Darkness? I feel like
Oh
I've seen
yeah,
that
I've done 100 of those before that as well.
Oh.
Didn't get one.
Okay, that's so weird.
Yeah,
I guess that's true. I've only seen
it's a very rare
one.
map.
I've only seen one Future Coaster out of Encroaching Darkness. So okay,
Oh, it's a very rare map.
right.
So
Now, do you think that that's the right way it should be done in Solo Self-Found? That you can, like you can sort of jimmy your way up the thing? Because I actually think that's a pretty cool.
Yes. Well, I think this is one of the things that make it a really interesting experience. A lot of people just think it's all about the EP, or you want to show that you can be the best without anyone helping you or whatever. But that's, at least for me, that I don't care too much about that, unless we actually had the competition and everyone's racing against each other, and that was the thing. Well, then I would care. But coming in late, it's just so enjoyable doing all these things. And having to use vendor recipes a lot as well, and deciding on what things you want to pick up, and so a little thing like alterations. You don't want to get to a place where you need 100, and you don't have any.
Right.
So I've been there a few times, and it really slowed me down when I was doing my scriptorium, where you could, because I was farming divination cards for chevrons.
Right.
So I have a
You're not
16
using- you're not
chevrons
using
as
that
well.
though,
No,
right?
I'm not using that. But I have it.
Okay.
It was like, because I had going into Solo Self-Found, you have to kind of decide what you want to aim for. But I like to have it so that I have different routes I can take depending on what drops, so you can adjust. This is not necessarily the quickest way of doing things, because I could have just not done the shafts at all, and I would have been a day quicker already. But it was a fun thing to do, so I did it. And if I had gotten the sword, I would have respec'd into that setup earlier on. So it was just like kind of having something to do while doing all this.
Right. Yeah, that's so interesting. See, that's the thing for me. It's so interesting that I really don't like divination cards, but I do think that they serve a great purpose, especially for something like Solo Self-Found.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people were talking to me before the league and were like, "Mors, you gonna do Solo Self-Found?" And I was like, "No, absolutely not. Not as the first character.
Yeah.
I mean, as a later thing, if there's like a challenge or people are doing it, or I just want to do something different, that it's fantastic for that. Like that's, I mean, it's funny how it to me it serves the same purpose as why the league stones to me are a great mechanic, because it's your choose your own adventure. So if you want to play Solo Self-Found, there you go. That's true. I did do the Solo Self-Found. Was it a 1 week race or 2 week race? I think there were prizes involved.
Possibly.
Possibly.
Yeah, I recall there were some.
Okay.
I don't recall the race itself.
No, I don't. I'm just saying. I think I did it to the. I usually do it to the minimum easy level that gets. It's like if level 70 gets you the most
like
chances.
The tickets or whatever you get,
Right.
the lottery tickets for the prizes.
Yeah. Right. I do feel bad. One of those races I did win wings when the wings were the best prize, and I felt bad about that because obviously I have a lot of MTX points. I really don't need them, but anyway. So, random's random, right?
Yeah.
So interestingly enough, do you think that there's much they have to improve then? Because you obviously
no.
Yeah, you're okay. You're obviously enjoying it. So
I think Solo Self-Found should forever just be what it is. It's just a limitation of partying out with people and trading. That's all it's. Because if the base game is good enough, then Solar Self-Found will be good enough.
Okay.
So I don't think they should. I think it would be wrong to kind of give them extra tools or something. I think they should just focus on making the base game the best as can be, and then like let the Solar Self-Found be its own thing. Because then people can just like there's always going to be strategies and stuff, and people will figure them out. There's no need to like accommodate people because they took on an extra challenge, I feel.
Yeah. I did notice it was sort of a funny comment. I noticed it when I looked, but then somebody posted it on Reddit too, that there's some guy who has 3 characters in the top 5 or something, or 3 characters top 6. That's
yes, he is currently 5, 6, and 7. Okay, he's dead on 6 and 7.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Oh man, that is some dedication, I gotta say. Though I do also want to say, what are you doing? Because I think one of his numbers is 417, so that means that's basically 70 million XP from 100.
Yes.
Which is like a third, as I recall, a third of the level or fourth of the level. What are you doing at that? What I don't understand is what you're doing. What are you doing at the point? Doing anything risky that could kill your character? I mean, I guess maybe he DC. We don't know. I think
he was just doing some like high beyond stuff, I would assume. And
yeah, I mean,
either he DC'd or lagged out, or maybe he just got killed. Right. He could just have gotten killed. I don't know.
Yeah, because like my golem character can do minus max and like all sorts of crazy. I stopped doing all minus max once I hit 99, and I was just not. The only thing that's going to kill me is one of these, like, 3 things plus minus max and does this rand thing randomly does 15,000 damage, right? That's the only thing that's going to kill you. So then it's like, okay, why risk it?
I still do low minus max as long as there's not anything else dangerous on there.
Okay, sure. It's the only damage mod.
Yeah,
fine.
Yeah,
that's what I mean though. I was doing minus max plus lightning damage.
Oh no, I don't do that.
I'm just never getting hit anyway. So
those things I don't do. I don't do stacked minus max mods.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's an interesting sort of little segue here to. I know that people in the community must be. Well, I don't know. It's interesting. I would have thought there would have been more threads about it, but I think this is a sign that people are enjoying Legacy League a little more than they perhaps expected. Because I was expecting by now, for beta, for there to be people chomping at the bit for the beta thread. Yeah, where's an update? And we got the Brian King fight, which maybe we could talk about that really quickly before we get into some meat.
What was your first impression of that?
My first impression was that the person playing the character is terrible and doesn't know what he's doing. And I hate, but I mean, that's just my honest first impression. I'm not trying to speak badly about somebody. Now, he eventually answered, in fact, in the thread, and I can find it. I can read because I'm looking at it right now. Whoever was playing pretty clutch fighting. Okay. So saying the character was 48 with roughly 1,200 life. Slightly under leveled for the area, which is not something final, nor is the boss bounce. This is probably one of the weakest characters currently used to take a look at the new content. So I think that's great. I just, it's like it's so tough to form a judgment when you're watching this and you're like, what's happening? Is the fight actually tough, or is this guy doesn't know what he's doing, or he's playing? I don't know. Well,
I think okay, so I think if you want to put out a piece of video, you want it to be, there has to be some kind of action in there, and you don't want to give everything away. So he can't kill it because he has to die at some point intentionally, I would assume. And then it has to be a struggle so you can see everything, right? You take a lot of damage, you do some damage, you play through all the phases. So I wouldn't, with any kind of teaser video, like I wouldn't put too much, I guess, I wouldn't look too much into like the quality of the play being made. Okay.
That's fine. I'm all for that, except that PoE has not really been sort of the like cinematic boss fight or ARPG for quite some time, right? Yeah, right. I mean, the bosses fight them. The boss fights themselves are very cinematic, but in terms of you as a player interaction with that, I mean, if you're not throwing a thing and one-shotting a quarter of the life of the boss,
Well, I think they have a. Don't you think they have an artistic vision for their game to where they would like players to have these encounters and the boss fights being sort of cinematic in style?
right?
Like you have the Shaper fight, for instance. For most characters, even for the endgame characters, you don't just blow him over. Obviously, a lot of people do these days with poison and such, but when you're encountering him the first time, there is this whole interaction with him and Zana, and they're like the dialogue, and he does all his faces, and it's not like we just blow him up. And there are plenty of other fights, like the Guardians are like different stages, and
Oh yeah, yeah. No, but I come back to
Malachi.
right. Yeah, and Malachi I think is a good example. It's just the Guardians and Shaper I feel like are poor examples because how many people actually ever see them? Right?
I think they I would assume that their artistic vision holds true throughout their game. I don't think it's
Right.
limited to either the end game or the early game. I think they want players to have kind of a, I don't know what you call it, a little bit of a story-driven experience, a cinematic experience, whatever you want to call it.
Okay. Well, I hope then that is a portent for the future where we have things slow down a little bit. I mean, the one thing I have noticed a lot lately is sort of the popular talking about things is people being like, what's going on, and like I feel forced to agree with PT, which seems to be a recurring meme lately, and I just want to be like
On,
on the clear speed and how
aha.
insane things are, and I think we've talked about it a couple times. I don't want to beat it to death. I just
I
always
don't
want to
know.
be like, where were you guys like a year ago when there were people talking about how this isn't, with the ascendancy, this is not going to end well. And I think we're rapidly approaching that.
Yeah.
It's not going to end well. So anyway, I'm excited in that sense.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have to say I don't like when it's kind of forced, right? So it's what we don't know about the Brian King fight. Like, what if he was, you know, even on this crappy character was pooping all over the Brian King, but he has a forced mechanic of like Malachi does, right?
Yeah,
I
like
mean, Malachi has
stages.
has stages, and so even if you, I mean, I guess it's Siri honestly was like that too. Although at the
Yeah.
time, people were like, only standard characters with mirror gear were killing her before she transitioned to the
Yeah,
next
when you
thing.
can skip the phases.
Yeah. So,
I
you know,
think um, I think at the very extreme, I think it's okay that you can get to a point where you pretty much skip phases on certain builds and characters, but only in the very
well, that's a part of it.
extreme.
That's a point of ARPGs, right? I'm okay with that in
Yes,
theory, of course. Yeah.
when it becomes the norm, when it becomes
Right.
the like
Right.
every character does that throughout, then we have a problem. But I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm excited if that is more of what's to come. I'm very excited about
Yeah,
that.
no, I see your point because it is kind of contradictory what they're showing us on the
Right. That's
tutorials and then what they're giving us
yes.
in the
Right.
game. That
Just a little bit. Just
just
a little bit.
no,
Yeah.
I can follow you on that. I do agree. I think it's kind of weird, kind of
Yeah, I
funny.
mean the design and like the idea and like what's going. I mean, all that's and I do want. It's almost like we need to have a flashing disclaimer, and I think I fall subject to this too, where it's like people like Moors, you're just mad about stuff, but okay, I wanted to like take it as a given. I love the game and I love the stuff that's going on. I haven't always liked the balance of the
Yeah,
game. So these are to me these are completely separate things. The story, how the game, honestly, how the game plays for the most part, I'm a huge fan of. Again, I think some of the meta things influence. Like I liked Shield Charge, Leap Slam at one point. I thought they were a great, cool mechanic because you could use them as a defensive mechanic. Right, that's what they really were kind of. And then of course a travel mechanic, but it wasn't like it is now where it's we're all turbocharged. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited and a little nervous, but so it's a little bit of a good sort of intro to, we are now approaching the point where,
yes,
I mean, I don't know. They did say, I think that it was changed, and I have to confess, I was looking for the announcement, or
on
I
the
thought there
beta.
was an update. No, yeah, well, I thought there was an
Or
update. I have the announcement. I thought there was an
okay.
update like we pushed because people were talking about it.
Yeah.
So I think it was a throwaway comment somewhere
Mm.
by Chris on Reddit or
Mm-hmm.
on a I don't so I'm looking for it. I spent 20 minutes looking for it and I didn't find it. I might have you know was skimming and I missed it. But I
Mm-hmm.
thought that had pushed the date a little bit because I thought I remembered end of April,
Yeah.
first week of May for something. We are
Yeah.
we're abutting that and we've heard nothing virtually. So I wouldn't be surprised if now it's pushed to middle of May or
Possibly.
maybe even
Yeah.
yeah. So then the question becomes how is the beta going to be handled? Are we going to see a repeat of basically how was it 2.0 and 2.1 that had sort of the open beta or 2.2? I don't remember what patches it was, but it was 2.0 and then Ascendancy, as I recall, where they had the open beta
Yeah.
thing going on for testing. So what if you had to summarize your experience with that, what would you like, dislike, or what did you think about it? Because I have a lot of stuff I want to say, but I want to hear what you say first.
So the one we did last time was was that the lab one?
I think the lab that's a better way to let's say 2.0 and then the lab one. Wait, no, didn't lab come with 2.0? Or no, no,
Did
no, no,
it?
no. No, 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 no,
I
because
don't
Ascendancy is
remember.
lab. No, no, no. So 2.0 is
There's the Deresso and stuff. I remember that one. But
right.
that
So
was
that's
its own
Act so
one.
2.0. So Malachi and Act 4 and then
Yeah.
Jules even. I think Jules came in for 2.0.
Was that for that
Yes,
one?
that
Yeah.
was that
Okay.
beta.
Okay.
Yes, because we had the 2% block Jewel and then they got rid of
Hmm.
that. So
Oh,
then
that's
and
true. Yeah.
then
That was some pretty.
so then lab. Right. So lab was the other one. So anyway,
That
so
was the
speak
yeah yeah yeah.
whichever one. We speak about whichever one you want to talk
Whichever
about.
one. Oh,
Yeah, doesn't matter.
I just remember enjoying playing them. Um,
Okay.
a lot of people are worried that it's somehow gonna detract from their enjoyment of the real release.
Right.
I can somewhat see that. If we know everything, obviously it's gonna like the more of the bosses we try out, um, obviously the less the less of a exploration we're gonna have when it releases. But they didn't on the first one. They didn't allow us to fight Malachi, did they? Or did
They
they?
did for the last three days,
Oh, that's right. We did get to fight him just a little bit.
and he was definitely
And
he
he's
suffered
crazy.
for not actually having been balanced. He was especially the I can't remember if it was the normal
Yeah.
or the cruel version. One of them was out of control.
The cruel
Like
version was out of control, I believe.
okay, so it was the cruel one. Then yeah, okay, just
Normal was
yeah,
also really hard, but the
right,
cruel one I remember being ridiculously hard. I
right.
don't know. I just I didn't put too much thought in. I don't know. I've never put too much thought into the beta itself. I just take it
Okay.
as any other league whenever I go into that, and then I test
Well,
things and
okay. So very, I'm so glad you said that. Totally organic. That's awesome.
yeah.
What is your thought then on what if they just made it a league? Because I mean, I guess there's
Oh.
no real way to do that, right? But I'm almost because it's going. There's no way it's going to be 2 weeks. I mean, maybe it will
Hmm.
be. I guess we don't truly know what'll happen. But it was like 6 weeks or 8 weeks or
Oh yeah.
even
So the
longer.
duration was way too long.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
like looking back, yeah, no, because now like you mention things and it kind of like props up, like you get
right.
to okay,
You're
no,
jogging the memory. Yeah.
yeah, no, I think
Yeah.
the duration was too long. I don't think the
Okay.
beta should be that long.
No, but then they run into the problem of how do they accomplish what they're looking to accomplish? That's the thing.
I'm kind of thinking for my vast experience as a QA guy.
Okay.
No, like I would assume that they would have some internal QA going on, up until a
I
point
think
where
they
they
always have
think,
that going on.
yeah, exactly. But up until to a point where okay, we've done what we can here. Now we want to have it on a larger scale before we release the full, since it's such a since it's like 3.0, 2.0, and 3.0 are such huge changes to the game, so they have to like play test it first on like a larger scale.
Right.
So I don't know. That's what I think it is.
Yeah.
I don't
I
think we're supposed to go in and find all like as beta testers, I don't think they assume us to. Obviously, it's nice whenever we do report bugs and stuff, but they're more there to use us as a larger scale test of their
Right.
systems and everything. Would be my
Yeah.
assumption.
Well, so anyway, I hope my impression was that I think the 2.0 beta was a sort of I'm trying to think of a way. Just circumstances sort of forced that on them a little bit. I think they were a little behind
Okay.
on what they wanted to get done, and it was a way to sort of sate people a little bit. Right, there's new content, you could test it and stuff like that.
Yeah, we
'Cause
have
what
it
was
ready, so give it a
right,
go.
or we have it ready, sort of, but I mean it's buggy and we got to fix all this stuff because so many systems changed. What was the first league for 2.0? Was it Talisman and or was it Tempest? I'd have to whatever. So all I remember is that I didn't think it was that great of a league. So then I do really think that the key to a lot of this is I feel like this is so unbelievably key. Since traditionally they've said they want to have a less invasive league or something like that when there's new content, right? Because the focus should be on the new content. I kind of think that's wrong.
Really?
I think that yes, especially now, I think that they want to have something where, much like Legacy, it's choose your own adventure. So the content is not disturbed if you choose not to be disturbed, right? So people really want to play through and really experience it and all that stuff. Fantastic. But we have so much sort of extraneous stuff in the game anyway, right? Essences. I'm got to assume Breach is going to be part of the league. So there's going to be all this BS in every zone. What else is there? Shrines, boxes, rogues. I mean, I don't know. The list goes on and on and on. So I think that the time for when we want to calm PoE down in terms of some of that stuff is kind of past. And if they have a boring league after having a 6-week beta, this is the key part. After a long beta, because I think if the beta was only going to be 2 weeks, I mean, I think that should be the length, but I just don't see that. I don't see that happening. Again, maybe this one will be done differently, and all of these assumptions we're making are wrong. It's just based on the previous two. They went. How long did they go for? I think they went for 7, 8 weeks, and then 4 weeks was the other one. I don't remember exactly, but
yeah, definitely. I remember the first one being very long, right?
Very long, way too long.
The second one was not too bad.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was more like a month, the second one, or 3 weeks to a month, I would have said. And I think that's more the right length. But even then, that gives people a lot of time, especially if we have a 1-1-2-1-1 or beta opt-in and or purchase a spot. There's gonna be tons of people in from day one, and I think that's fine. It's weird. When that happened, I really wasn't against it because I was kind of like, well, all right. The point of this is testing. If you really want to, if there's people who are going to be totally insane and are like, well, just give us a way to pay and we'll buy in. What is Chris supposed to say? No, I don't want your money as a business owner. I mean, but like now, I'm like,
Are we talking about the opt-in here?
Yeah, the opt-in. I'm just a little. It's not that I don't want it. I feel a little less comfortable with it, I would say.
Because of the last time, or?
Well, I just think if it's going to be a test, it should be a test, and they should just. I don't know. That's what I come back to. I don't like we're sort of in between. Either I don't know. I would just want it to make it a league. Like okay, 3.0 is launching, and we did a private.
Okay, so the first thing that comes to my mind whenever you say I would like it to be a league. Yeah. Well, now then you're kind of you want them to put effort into making a league for that, because that's gonna go in and like they have to create a league for it then, and that has to be tested.
Sure. That's why me personally, I would prefer it to, and I know it's going to sound self-serving because I'm on alpha.
That's okay.
But I would prefer it to be tested on alpha because that way and I can just say from being an alpha tester, my experience does get ruined a little bit, but I do view it as I want to help out. Right? That's my primary motivation. It's not to It's not to get secret strats or to find a bug and never say anything and crash the instance. None of this bullshit that, and 99.99% of the alpha testers are there just to help. And so I would prefer that there's sort of a bug test hunt thing that gets done there for a short period of time, 5 days, a week, I don't know. And they try to make it as stable as possible, and then it launches, and they just are open about the fact that, listen, if something is totally broken, we might destroy your character. And I guess that's the thing, that this is where I think this is the big reason why we are where we are, is because they have a study that people do not re-roll, right? This is why they haven't changed the passive tree in so long, right? Because changing the passive tree causes people to quit the game.
It could be.
So,
yeah, okay.
No, I mean, he said, that is a statement
that?
from Chris. Oh, absolutely.
Okay. On the passive tree.
On the passive tree itself. If they change the passive tree too much, people just are overwhelmed because their characters are bricked. And then, I mean, this is referring to standard. So I think if there's got to be a middle. I feel like, I just feel like there's a middle ground between. We have too long of a beta, but it's not really a league, but it feels like a league. But again, I guess the assumption is then.
But also, if you make it into a league and you're doing it like if you're beta testing and it's also a league at the same time, well, now you have to respect players coming into that as because they get to be it if you make it so that it's a league and players join in and they pay for it, and then there's a bug, and then the character gets deleted or something happens to where they can no longer, right, to where the league breaks or there's a hiccup.
Right.
And then how do you explain that to players, that this is not a normal league? But you said, because they promote it as a league, but then it's a beta, and you can't really have it, like, that would just be confusing, I would think, for players.
Oh, yeah. You are 100% right, and this is definitely not an idea that I have sat down and fleshed out. And it could be it honestly could be a terrible idea, and I'm fully prepared to be like, this is a terrible idea. It just feels like, I mean, I guess again, the key assumption is that it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks for this to get balanced out. And I can only speak from what I feel comfortable talking about on previous alpha experiences. One of the absolute toughest alpha to launch was for 1.0. Okay, because 1.0, I think it was 1.0, got rid of Ruthless, which was the third difficulty. So that was a huge ordeal, and that definitely was not done. That was on alpha a long time. There was a lot of testing. I mean, that's one of the reasons Nemesis League, even though it was kind of, if you compared it to leagues now, it would be considered boring. I think. But a lot of people look back on it fondly because there really were no crashes. Things were balanced really well in terms of power of things. Only really kind of middle of the league did a few things come out as super OP, like the travel across the tree, because they buffed CI to where you could then have the vol pact.
Was that when
I don't remember how
it?
much. No. But there was, I can't remember exactly what was changed, but I mean, that's what allowed people to make the things like discharge, stun immune, huge health pool, vol pact. Oh, I know why. Because we were granted more points.
Yeah.
That was the other thing. Higher levels and more points. So that extra 12 to 14 points that every build could get.
Yeah, I know.
Well, then 10 travel points
means a lot.
on PS meant a lot. Then that got you vol pact, and then what was the other thing down there? I think some would obviously get stun immunity down there too. So anyway, so just those things emerged later, but for the most part, it was a really well done league. And why was it really well done? Well, in my humble opinion, is because it was on alpha for a very long time, and it allowed a lot of iterations to go through, because it was such a massive change. All these monsters had to be adjusted. All these levels had to be adjusted. The leveling process was something under a huge amount of scrutiny. I mean, they were like, every day they were like, if you made a new character, post your, I don't want to say too much more, but post what where you were at what level, because they have a, I don't know, they just have a metric where they want players to be at a certain level. So I've got to believe removing two difficulties and making it a smooth 1 to 10, although it sounds like it would be easy, I don't think it's going to be easy. I think it's going to be a monumental effort. And I don't know, I could be pleasantly surprised. Maybe the first playthrough is going to be amazing. I'll just be like, wow, I can't believe they managed to solve all these problems. I just don't think that's going to happen, since it's never been like that. And why would they have a beta if they have that? That's going to be the number one thing to fix, is the character progression. To me, they're having the beta to sort of iron out those kinks.
Yeah, I would want the beta to be more of a stress test and of a more of a limited nature. And we kind of just stress everything, the system, see if anything breaks. If it doesn't break, well, we're good to go.
Right.
That's what I would want the beta to be.
Right. Yeah. Well, anyway, so we just have to see. We have to see what transpires, what they announce. It does feel like it's a little further off than I thought it was going to be.
Well,
but when does this league end? When does Legacy actually end? The 3rd of June?
Something like that, I think. We are like 5-6 weeks left.
April 3rd. Yeah, May 3rd, June 3rd. I don't. Does it go by months or does it go by actual? I guess it's 12 weeks, so that might not be actually the 3rd of June, but whatever, it's close to that.
Yeah.
June, or late May would be the end. So then maybe we'll, because I think they also said there's the potential that the whole league goes.
That the whole league goes? That we play
run
out
the duration
before,
of it. Play out the league before it starts, or it starts towards the end.
Honestly, I think if they adopt the good old Blizzard mantra, like you'll get it when it's done, kind of thing.
Yeah,
I would actually appreciate that more. I know that players would then be, well, we really want stuff. Well, then give them some temporary leagues, something to do, whatever. Just I would then communicate out that your approach is that we want it to be perfect. As long as it's communicated out that that's why we're delaying. I would be I'd be surprised if anyone has an objection to that.
Right. Okay. I do think the difference is because it's two different business models.
Yeah.
Right? Like GGG is like a shark. I mean, there's a pro and a con. If they stop swimming, they're going to die. At least that's what they think. So they can't just leave it until it's ready.
Well, it's okay. So obviously there is a sense of urgency in terms of it has to come out at some point. They can't just indefinitely stall until it's.
But I mean, but that's what I'm saying. Blizzard can and has done that in the past. That's what I'm saying. Although I think you're making a good point. The problem is they really are completely different models to the point where the con for Blizzard is like what we saw with D3, where it's just sort of now it's forgotten. They got all the money, and.
But I don't think with D3, it never felt to me as they were just delaying to make the game better. Or did they? Well, I think maybe they had.
Because it was the first version of D3 was supposed to be due out in like 2009 or something.
Oh yeah,
and they completely scrapped it.
Yeah, that's right.
They were like, "Well, I don't like this," even though game. The video, the pictures that I've seen, I was like, "That's the game I want to play," which is kind of what PoE is like a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
So
no, they can't just scrap and start over. No, of course they have to like follow through here. Though, if we're talking like a few weeks. I would rather.
Of course, that's fine.
I would rather have them postpone just a little to get a better product. And I would also rather have them postpone beta, rather than giving us the beta early and then have an extended beta period. I would rather have them postpone the beta and then giving us a limited, because I feel like with the beta it should be like a taste. You get to taste the game, the new thing, so you're intrigued. So you wanna try it out when it comes out. You've refined a few early tactics that you can then apply, because people will use this to their own advantage, obviously. But you can't let it linger for too long, because then they solve it.
Right.
We would rather not have players solve the game before it comes out, and so you get that taste, and then you take it away again. You have like a week where they're like preparing or whatever, and then they comes out
Okay.
or something
Okay.
like that.
Yeah. No, I mean that's definitely what I would hope it would be like. I did think that one of the problems I found, at least what I found with the last beta, was I know I had some feedback that I submitted and I felt like it was listened to,
Mm-hmm.
and then later on I was like, what is the point almost of this? And I will say there are people out there who are extremely um, articulate and spend the
Yes.
time and craft
Yes.
something. And like I would read their posts and go, holy shit, this
Yes.
is so spot on. They should just almost dump it into the game. It's so obvious, everything this guy said. And then it was ignored a little bit. And then the very problem the guy's talking about crops up sort of in the release. So
Do you remember what
that's
it was?
the specific topics. No, because it was so, I mean, God,
Oh, okay.
was that 3 years ago now or 2 years ago now?
Oh, we're talking 1.0.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember one of the topics was definitely about jewels, and
Oh, okay.
how there's going to be once people realize, and I mean, it was already still
I don't know.
kind
I
of
think people
knowledge.
realized that pretty early, right?
Yeah,
Once you
yeah,
saw the stats and the duels, and you could, if you added four of the stats together, you would immediately see for 3 points invested, it would always be better than notable notes.
right, right. But then the guy was talking about how, but at that point, then you can take that even further, and then so if you've spent the
Mm-hmm.
3 points to that, you're only ever 6 points from another jewel slot, I think was what his math was. And
Okay.
so even then, at that point, it becomes, depending on what's going on, it's like it's better.
Yeah.
There's long, but anyway, my point being though, feedback like that, now that might have happened early in the beta, and I remember it just because I had been thinking about it, but I hadn't really, seen someone lay out the math for, in
Mm-hmm.
essence, why these jewels are OP and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so my hope is, I don't know. I guess really it was just that first beta, that first 2.0 beta. Just it went on 8 weeks.
I think on
You
these
know,
kind of
just
things though, if we don't hear the counter argument, because
right.
there is a counter argument to where, what about duels in its worst form? Duels in its worst form is one or two stats, and if you have to travel too far to, like, when you take one of those, and it feels like it's not even worth it, right? Because when you're leveling through
Oh yeah,
their game, you will have some of them available, but if it's never worth even picking up one of them, if for 1 point even in its worst state, because that's for you to balance them in its best state, you then take away from them when they're in the worst. So maybe
right.
you take away 50% of the power of one stat. So like now overall they're like 50% worse, and then now they're balanced. But then nobody will even take one, and then you have all these jewels cropping up in your inventory, and you're always thinking, well, what's the point? Like, maybe when I get a 4 stat, it's gonna be good enough, or a 3 stat.
But that's currently what the balance is, right? When you say, I
Yeah.
never pick up, if I'm leveling, I never pick up a jewel
Well,
slot.
I do.
I mean,
If I find one, if I find
if I
one,
find one,
if
yeah,
I
if you
find
find
one,
one, that's
and
great.
even two
Yeah,
stats is good enough to where I
yeah,
can, like,
like
some places
damage.
fit one in, and but I think
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
right. No, I think that's a good thing too. It's one of these things where I do think that there's a problem sometimes where they want things to be compelling
Mm-hmm.
because they really, well, and I think it's a good thing they want it to be compelling for the guy who's 45,
Mm-hmm.
level 45, and
Yeah.
plays half an hour a week, and so finding a jewel is like a cool thing. And so there's the eternal struggle between these two.
Exactly.
You could make that about hardcore versus softcore, or ladder players versus people
Mm-hmm.
who have a million alts. So so I get that. It's not saying what they're doing is wrong, and or maybe they have the optimal solution. I guess it really just comes down. I guess now that we've really talked about it and I've thought about it, I think it really boils down to the length of the beta. I think I'll
Mm-hmm.
be disappointed if it's longer than, honestly, 2 or 3 weeks,
Yeah.
especially if people can opt in. Because I think one of the big things was, since if the beta felt long to me, selfishly, because I was in the first day. So then, and there were no one was. I don't. It wasn't like 2 weeks where it was basically only streamers
Yeah,
and
something like
alpha
that.
people,
Yeah.
or like a week of that, and
Yeah.
then maybe it's a little. Then it was the counter, like old school PoE, to actually to join the PoE beta. That the ticker.
Yeah,
That's how
yeah,
we got
yeah.
the 1-1, the 1-1-2-1-1 meme, and then meme, and then they eventually were like, okay, we'll let you buy in. I think that was like 3 weeks in, if I had to again
Yeah,
just
I think that took a little while because they had the whole problem with the 11211, right?
right, right, and then that seemed like they were just like, okay, fuck it, we're just gonna,
Yeah.
people are doing this crazy stuff. So if they're allowing the opt-in, almost, let's say the first 2 days they're going to give to exclusive stream, I am now going to take a minute,
Okay.
okay, which I have refused from doing up until now on the podcast, but
Okay.
we're gonna dip into the Moore's rage well just slightly, okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
If Crip is the person that gets exclusive content at this particular point, I don't know what I'll do. I just want to say I will have a nuclear meltdown, and I will go out of my way to try to ruin something for Chris's day at that point, because he just does not deserve it. And I am 100% saying I don't deserve it, 1,000,000%. But there are people in the community who deserve it. Even people who, if they want to get fresh eyes. Now, I think giving exclusive to one person is stupid in the first place, because as we saw from that experience the last time it happened, there was a huge chunk of the day when nobody was streaming it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there with alpha access playing the thing and being like, why the fuck am I not allowed to stream that? But okay, fine. I get that part. There are so many people who deserve it over at Crip, as even if it's, let's say if their number one choice is not Mathil or Ziggy, or, who am I for Aziz, I'm just thinking of the
Mm-hmm.
people with the highest absolute numbers, regardless of any other consideration. Why would they not give it to somebody like that? And then, okay, Quinn, or I guess Moldrin is somebody from outside the community. I'm trying to think of big streamers who've played the game outside the community. If that's what they're looking for,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they deserve it more than Crip does at this point. And I'll be very, very, very disappointed in them if it's not. Crip has not done enough for the community lately to deserve it. Does he deserve it for his past things? Perhaps. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great argument. But he shouldn't be the exclusive streamer then for 3 days.
Okay, so well, for 3
That's my
days, I
problem.
think would be ridiculous.
But that's what he
So-
got last time.
Did
was
he?
3 days or 2.5. He got 3 streams,
Yeah,
which
I
is
think
2.5.
that is kind of ridiculous. Okay, so to his defense,
Okay. I like Crip. I just want as a disclaimer.
Yeah, yeah.
I like Crip personally.
No,
I
this
would love for him to play
is
PoE.
nothing. This is nothing on like there's nothing personal about this at all.
Right.
It's more of the merits of whatever should then give you the rights to get whatever, like exclusivity or whatever. There is obviously the idea that they want to get the best and most exposure
Sure.
as they can, like as
Crip does
possible,
that.
and Crip does that. He does hit. I do think he hits a market still that is a at least of all the big streamers we could entice to playing PoE, right? That we could get into actually streaming it.
Mm-hmm.
I think he still does hit, like gives the best exposure of pretty much any of them, I would assume at this point, because.
But how much of that is because he's given exclusive content?
Yeah, so
when it comes
there
to
is
that.
that argument, and I do agree to a large extent.
Like if you gave
especially
if
if
you gave it to. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, my fault.
No, but he has a huge audience.
Right.
So giving it to Maldron or Quinn, like Quinn plays WoW. I think there's a big distance between WoW players and Hearthstone. I don't like for some reason I feel like there's a to get. Maybe that's not fair, but I don't know. I think there's definitely a marketing merit for getting Crip in. I do think it's kind of ridiculous to make it exclusive throughout the entire day. I think that is absolutely absurd. You'd make time slots for whoever. You make sys play, like you have Crip in first. Maybe you do like a big show, and then you allow people to take over after the show is over, and you have people allotted for those time slots.
Well, and also Crip never hosts anybody, and I guess that's his shtick at this point. But yeah, like I come back to, you're telling me that you can't, if Crip wants exclusivity, then something he needs to do is host the next person up streaming the game. How is that a big deal? I don't know. Like, I just, it really, when there were other available great streamers that
Mm-hmm.
people love in the community and want to see play the
Mm-hmm.
content, and they're available, and there's nobody streaming it, that I don't know. It just seemed like it was
Yeah, I agree. It does seem to me. It seems kind of ridiculous if you're trying to market as much as possible,
right.
and then you have this
I
huge
mean, Crip should be a
platform.
part. He should be a part of it,
Oh
right?
yeah, I
I'm not
think so.
saying that he shouldn't. I just all of these sort of concessions that are
Mm-hmm.
made. It's like I actually don't think Pee Wee needs that much help in
No,
2012
I
or
agree.
13. They absolutely did, 100%. Like absolutely at this particular juncture, I think I would hope that the negotiation process is a little bit more. Got to give me some. We want Crip involved, and I would be, if he part of his deal is when he streams it, he would like to be the only person streaming it because he's kind of earned that right, and of course he's earned that right. He's a huge streamer. He
Mm-hmm.
was such a big part of PoE's success. He's earned the right to make requests like that. But then
I
being like,
think
well,
I
for
think
all
Dragon Geek
24
Games has a
hours,
lot more leverage than they kind
yes,
of
used to,
right. Yeah. Well, yeah.
yeah, oh yeah,
And even like let's say he comes in and say, "Oh, I want this and this." Well, they say, "Well, this is an opportunity for you."
right,
Like you're not only an opportunity for us, we're an opportunity for you.
yeah.
So I would
Just
hope that there would be more of a appreciation for some of the large streamers we have in our community,
right,
and the idea that somehow allowing those to stream would take, I don't know, I can't see how there would be a negative at all. And
right,
even let's say like Crypt, let's just okay, let's just go out and assume that, let's say, okay, we can't give you exclusive rights. Okay, then he doesn't stream it. What happens? Right? So let's say that they fill all the other time slots. All that exposure you get if you have all the other time slots open will still be a lot. And you could diversify it to like 3 different popular streamers versus just one, and hit maybe the same audience.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, there's got to be a League of Legends streamer who
yeah,
would play, because they all play it.
yeah, yeah.
So you're telling me that and they have bigger audiences than Crypt. Now, maybe, I guess, if you want
or
they do. I
equal.
mean, Sneaky plays PoE on stream. That's one of the big
Mm-hmm.
reasons Ziz got a huge bump in viewership,
Mm-hmm.
was Ziggy hosting him. I mean, Sneaky hosting him.
Okay.
And Sneaky stream is, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's less loyal, or there's some metric I don't.
I don't know.
Okay, I don't want to get into it, but his stream is at least analogous to Crypt's.
Okay.
So, and there's got to be people like that who would come along, and so it just felt
Yeah.
like we went to them, or Chris went to them. I say we, like I'm part of the decision, but it felt like there was a hat in hand, like, please, like, okay, we do want him to play, and I want him to play. I'd love for him to come
Sure.
back, because I used to watch his stream a lot. Now I want to blow my brains out. So, I think it would be great. I just really don't like I don't know. My pick was Mathel. You want
Mm-hmm.
my personal opinion? If I had to pick someone who has a lot of people, and this is not about a personal preference, because he wouldn't be my number one choice of stream that I would watch. And I'm not saying either way what my number one stream to watch in PoE when I want to watch a stream. But I think in terms of numbers and YouTube presence and all this stuff, he's the clear choice. And I want to say I'm kind of excluding Ziggy, since he's a special, right? He's like a special case where he is like a almost employee and stuff like that. So he's always going to be included in whatever's going on. And we even saw that because he was streaming it before Crip, and then he was like, "Oh, I have to go to the bathroom for 4 hours." He had some lame bullshit thing he said about why he had to stop streaming it because Crip was going to start streaming. So, anyway, so long story. That was a little bit of a 10-minute rant about it, but not really a rant. But I feel very, very strongly that people in this community should be rewarded on some level. And I'm sorry, 3 days later is not a reward for the people who have streamed the game, gotten as far as I know, and I know one big streamer in the League of Legends community that I randomly was friends with through League before he got to be big. And I mean, Riot does a lot more for their streamers than, and by that I mean, is there anything done for streamers in PoE?
Oh, there
Nothing.
is. There is. That's that. Yeah.
Name one thing that's actively done on GGG's part to promote. Besides, I guess they link us on their front page. They link the top 3 streams.
Yeah,
But I'm talking about
they make the posts every now and then with the community things
okay.
as well, and they
All
had
right.
the stones sent out, I believe, for the Atlas stuff.
Was that the streamers?
I think so. Well, streamers and YouTubers, content creators of all sorts. I think Vase got
Okay.
one, and
Okay.
Siggy, and I don't know. I don't remember. A lot of them.
Okay.
Probably
I didn't
Mathil
remember there
and
was that
Sivs.
many. I didn't remember it was that many, but
I
okay.
I think they had a decent amount. I will say I would appreciate it if they would do more.
Okay.
And I think they could do more. I don't think
But let's say
I don't think they've brought their A game in terms of being
okay.
like
Right. Well, but the thing is,
including their community.
I just don't. I don't want to turn it to seem like it's a wine festival. Where's my
No,
toy?
no, 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 no.
That, that,
I
that-
don't like.
it's just
I think
if they're going to do it, if they're going to operate the way they're operating, which I think is totally fine. Then when they're parceling out rewards, which would be exclusive content and things like that, at least making it even in terms of the actual
Yeah,
PoE
yeah.
community versus people outside. Because at this point, Crip is outside the PoE community, and anyone
Yeah.
who says different, I don't know what he is just maybe the biggest non-PoE streamer to stream PoE. So we of course want him, but I just where's the reward then for the other?
Yeah.
It
No,
was,
I
it was
follow
just a
you.
confusing.
No, I follow you completely.
Yeah. So, and I mean, and in fairness, this does pertain to me, and I think pertain to you because okay, so we're not saying we're not. I am clearly far down, and Noogie's close to the top. But if the people whoever's first on that list isn't being chosen, what hope do we have? Right. So I mean, I don't want it to seem like this is I'm totally doing this with no self-interest. There is self-interest, and I think logical self-interest, because if Mathil's not getting involved, what chance do I have at that point? And I'm part of the PoE community, so it's just it was a strange dynamic.
I think it's important as well. Like, if you think about it this way, if you, as you just put it, well, what chance do I have? If that becomes the general feeling of players or anyone who wants to contribute to the community or who want to be part of the community, right? If the general consensus becomes, well, it's nearly impossible to get any kind of like response or like feedback or whatever you want to call it, or like getting into the beta, getting some access or whatever, there would be required for you to grow. Like, why even bother?
Well, yeah, and I not to beat a dead horse, but I do think that the way the streamer access and or whatever from the first beta that was handled, I think they did learn a lesson. So I always give them credit for that. But the way the first one was done, again, I'm not a programmer, so we're gonna have some armchair programmer mores. But how hard would it be to code something that just grabs the top 10 streams based on Twitch's numbers, based on viewer count, every hour for 24 hours for say a week, right? Or I don't know, over the course of a month, randomly selected, and then compile that into a list, and then who are the top 25 streams that have streamed at some point. Because they didn't do anything
there are
like that.
metric sites for that already that just compile all this information. It's very easy to find.
Fine. So then how is not even the minimum done? Because there were people who were not invited to that initial beta that had to be told they needed to contact them to get in. Right? That, and I mean, one of them's in this podcast right now and was told by the other person in this podcast that they need to reach out because apparently they weren't included, despite being one of the longest streamers in the history of PoE in terms of streaming the game. So my point being, you were not the only example. Noogie was not the only example.
No,
so it was just sort of the process was weird, and I hope it's much more fleshed out, because I think this really matters, right? Because
no, I agree.
2.0 was too new. Desync being removed and and Diablo still had a prayer, and I think there's a lot of stuff that we're getting rid of all the acts, which people really kind of hated. It's gonna be a fresh start, all this stuff. So I really kind of want the best foot forward. That doesn't mean everything's gonna be perfect. I mean, like, I'm a classic example. I try to put my best foot forward. Sometimes I put my foot in my mouth, right? But I'm trying to put my best foot forward at all times. And I honestly don't always get that impression about some of these things that are not a core part of what GGG is doing, but they should be viewed as a core part, right? The streamer community and how we promote the game should be a huge core part of what's going on, especially for something like this where there's exclusive content. Like, I don't even remember if the announcement of Crypt streaming the thing was really heralded that much by them. If you want I don't remember it being like
no, I
3
don't
days before. I'm like, Crypt's coming. There was no, because
I think they should make a lot. I do agree that they should make a much bigger deal out of these things, right?
Yeah.
Whenever they have an event with Crip or with Methil or Sis or Siki or anyone, right? They have, let's say they want to roll out, they have like 3 days, and one day it's Crip, or maybe it's Crip every day, and then they have like smaller things, or they like allot a little time to at least one of them, like give them like a 20-minute where they just sit down and talk, and then they have their own thing going, and then hype it up, right? Make Chris goes and makes a Reddit post on, oh, this is our rollout for how we're gonna like showcase the first stages of the beta. Come watch, come join us, and we're gonna have some fun, right? I think that kind of stuff should be a priority for them.
And I do think that I honestly, I want to go back. I actually don't think that giving away access as a prize, that was handled better the second time. It still felt disorganized and wonky that for that 2.0 bit, or whatever. I really feel like there should be like I don't know, prizes being given away. Either it's like, maybe stash tab is too much. I don't know. I just feel like this is the time to sort of do some of that stuff, especially with there's a rework of the MTX system coming out. So like getting people, and look, whether we want to argue the merits of that stuff, I personally think it's stupid. I think it's stupid, me personally. But again, I'm already playing the game and I'm already involved. If these things work, it's like movie trailers, right? Apparently, the trailers that reveal almost the entire movie are actually the best trailers because it gets people to go see the movie.
Yeah.
It ruins the movie for me, and I would bet it would ruin it for you, but we are not the audience that they're trying to target with those things, right? So I mean, if the giveaway of a stash tab, I'm just kind of like, but if that gets people to be like, oh, I got that's so cool, and this guy won, and maybe I could win, and blah blah blah. So we should do those things, the quote unquote sellout things. So that's anyway. Well, I guess I am very excited for it because this is version 3.0, and as I think we've talked about in the past on this very podcast, the third version of whatever GGG does is usually really sweet. Although I guess this is version 4 of the game,
maybe,
and 4 or 5. So I'm very, very, very excited, and I think it's I don't know. I'm excited for the 10-act thing, and we'll see what is the new leveling thing people are going to bitch about. That's going to be, what is the new I hate playing through this is going to be. I hate playing Act 8 because dark and the end boss fires those ball things. It fires a ball lightning every direction, and you have to like dodge or something. So I'm very excited for the next. What is the next thing? What about you? What if you had to pick one thing you were very excited about for beta? Do you have one thing you're looking forward to, or just sort of generally?
I think the 1 to 10 is like the most exciting thing.
Yeah.
And then seeing the Pantheon system, because that's going to be the new system.
Oh God. Well, yeah, I'm excited for it and scared. So I think we talked about that before.
Well, isn't that part of being excited, being a little bit scared at the same time?
Well, yes, I guess I'm scared for the far-reaching implications of the Pantheon system. So, I mean, now, so this is interesting, just to sort of little end on.
Okay.
Does that mean that Ascendancy will never be changed again? Because really, the passive tree very rarely is changed at this point. So
that's actually a good question. If that's their new way of looking at things, right? We just layer things on top. I worry about that a lot, though. We could have an entire episode about how they should how they should kind of like balance out the game going forward, and are we going into a like, do we just layer things on top, or do we lay them out like next to each other? Because if you look at a game like World of Warcraft, it's all layering on top. But then if you do that, then I guess it depends on like there's the power aspect of players versus the content they do, and I think you can, so you layer on powers and tools, and then you keep the content equal, or like so there's a lot to discuss there.
So I added it to our potential future. I typed balancing the game going forward, sandwich or paste. So that's my little metaphor.
That's a good.
So yeah, that's good. So listen, I think that's due to budget constraints, we are now ending Coffee Talk Podcast because uploading 4 hours of content, despite that being really fun, is not always something that we want to do. No, that's it was a good chat. I want to thank our glorious host Nugian of the Soul Self-Found. First of all, I thought Soul Strike was rare because I see it on your character. Is there a div card for it, or did you just find it?
I found 2 of them. Didn't even chance. I got lucky on that one.
Were you always going to make the bow Soul Strike version of the character, or
it was one of my like I said in the beginning, it was one of my my go-tos, my options.
Yeah.
If I found the things, and I did.
Yeah. Okay. Because I was looking at your character. Your character seemed pretty well.
It's pretty well geared at this point.
Yeah. You have some really nice fear jewelry. Talk about something that I was dealing with a lot myself.
Yes.
Not Soul Self-Found, and I was getting annoyed about.
I ran 95 levels of every single essence I could.
Okay.
As a leak stone. So you kind of have to make the RNG go your way.
Right. All right. Well, on that note, I wish you good luck and speedy leveling and everything. And thanks everyone for being here. And just as a little program note, you can find this on Noogie's YouTube sometime tomorrow. I don't want to define a time. Noogie's been doing a great job. I just dealing with time zones. It's just, I'm like the picture of Zach Galifianakis with the numbers everywhere, dealing with the time zones. So it will be up tomorrow, and then it will be uploaded onto the website, which then puts it on the RSS feed, and you can subscribe. thecoffeetalkpodcast.com, all sorts of different ways, and that's it. I guess a beta and you, something like
beta
that.
And you.
Beta and you. I don't know.
It would be exciting if we got an announcement in the next week.
That would be very exciting. Well, we'll have to rely on your chat, because your chat's been doing a really good job of, not to plug and be like, you guys are awesome and stuff, but no, I mean, the suggestions for names for the episode titles have always been spot on, even if we haven't used them.
Yes,
there have been some great suggestions.
Very good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah.